you'll have that introduction in your toolbox, and then I'll be offering training probably after the first of the year with CE for anybody that wants to really get into what we call the art of delivery, which is how do you take this and use it on the client that's in front of you to take down their trauma very quickly. The other thing is I get a lot of referrals from my students, my licensed students. They will send me a client either in person or on the phone, and I'll do a reading on them and get the client connected to what is going on in their own psyche and what their own issues are, and then give it back to the therapist. And that saves you anywhere from, 4 sessions to 12 weeks to get the history. And the other thing is that if somebody doesn't know what's happened to them, they can't tell you. And so where do you go with that? Uncued panic attacks is classic for that. I have a whole chapter in my book. I'm writing my second book right now on all of this, the practice and case histories, and I'm telling the story through case histories. I just finished a chapter called The Many Faces of Panic, and it's got 12 different vignettes of different people that had chronic panic attacks that couldn't be healed in any conventional way. So you've got to be able to read them in terms of using metaphor language. I have a whole separate class on metaphor language, but I'm going to introduce it briefly here. The body-mind speaks to us in metaphor. So, for example, back pain. Now, in the absence of an injury or something that needs a chiropractor, what are some of the things that we all say that we don't maybe connect the dot? Get off my back. Or you say to someone, you have chronic back pain, well, is there someone that stabbed you in the back? Have you been betrayed? Is your back up against the wall and you don't know where to go with the situation? These are the things that we say. Red-faced rage, gut instinct, I can't stand this person, I can't handle it. Psoriasis and eczema are almost always emotionally based. So begin to listen between the lines with your clients, and you might pick up something that they're going to say to you, and they're not going to connect the dot. But if you have a grounded skill in learning metaphor language, which is really like dream interpretation, it's symbolic sight. And I started introducing this in my classes because people would say, well, we're not intuitive like you, we don't know how to do this. And I'm like, wait a minute, there's got to be a manual mode to this, which is how to read the energy of someone and read between the lines of what they're really saying. And so that's going to lead you into the art of delivery, and you're going to be able to deliver your emotional freedom technique, your tapping, in a very specific manner. So the thing with EFT is it's easy to apply, it's easy to learn, and it's based on the acupuncture meridian system. So there's 14 points. Take a look at your handout. You've got this page in your handout, and also this page, which is how to do it. So I'm going to just go over the points real briefly, and I'm going to show you a video of this guy here. He was an Iraq veteran. This took place in 2004. It was covered in the San Diego Union. He was a corpsman in Iraq, and in the final week of an 8-month deployment, of which, according to him and his supervisor, he was fine emotionally, patching up bloody people, mortar attacks, rockets, getting all, going on patrols, getting shot at. He was basically okay. And in the final week, he was called to deal with an aftermath of a suicide. A Marine killed himself in a porta-john. Now, this guy didn't see it, but he was on duty, and they said, bring a body back. So because he had witnessed a murder-suicide at age 10 that had never been treated, that lit up like a circuit. That's how things are manifested between the limbic brain and the other parts of the brain. It's really like an electrical circuit. It lit up, and he came home 5 or 6 days later, and within 30 days he was in full-blown PTSD because of that incident. So, and he was getting worse. He was unwinding. They put him on meds. They took him to counseling. He was doing everything. His supervisor just said, you're getting worse. And he happened to be my neighbor across the street, the supervisor, and he brought him to me. And then we got this video. And I said to him, I know you came here for Iraq, but we're going to do this first. And I didn't do a reading. I just asked him what went on. And I'll give you a little more details on that when we get ready to show it. So let's find these points and the setup. The setup is where you focus your attention on what you're going to treat. Now, if you you've been trained to reframe. I don't want you to reframe here except to throw in one now and then. The problem is like a big iceberg, and every time we tap and we talk about the problem, we're chipping away at the iceberg, and the affect is going to come down. So you identify what the problem is very specifically. If it's too global, which is to say, well, I'm not good enough, or I was abandoned, or patterns like that, that's too global. We want to get the frames of that movie, the specific movie and the specific memory, the time this happened, the time that happened, and take those things down. They use a forest and trees metaphor in EFT. If you take down the big tree, all the little ones around it will fall down. So somebody that's really, really traumatized and has had the childhood from hell, you don't have to treat every single thing that happened to them. You can treat one or two things along the circuit, and the whole series of that will come down. And you can ask them, well, what about this time when you were 10? It's on your trauma timeline, it's a 7. Well, I don't know, it doesn't seem to matter anymore. And they say things. So what happens is their cognition changes automatically. Now that's hard to believe, because the whole conventional therapy is organized around change their thoughts, change their feelings. When you do this tapping and you release this trauma, these blocks from their body-mind, and you've already gotten a 0 to 10 from them in terms of intensity before you start, and then afterwards it's 0, or they were crying and now they're laughing, it's jarring. But it doesn't come back, and as long as you're aiming it at a specific thing, you can measure it and they feel it as well. So the setup is, even though I have this, and then fill in the blank, this problem. It could be headache, it could be anxiety. If you don't know what to say, you can say anxiety, but the best way to do this is to get them to say exactly what the problem is. This resentment, this anger, this, and then if you tie it into the body, like I treated this flight attendant on an airplane once, and she had a headache, she drank too much. And I said, okay, what's the pain? She says, it feels like an ice pick behind my left eye. I said, all right, even though I have this ice pick pain behind my left eye, I accept myself. One of the statements is, I love and accept myself, and some people can't say that. They don't believe it. So I just say, I accept myself, I'm doing the best I can, I'm a good person, most people can live with that. So you do the setup and you say, even though, fill in the blank with something specific that's aimed at the problem, and then a little bit of self-affirming affirmation here. Then you start tapping and talking about the problem. So let's say we were going to do a headache. So we would start here. You start here on this is on your chart. This is where you start with setup point. That's a spleen point. So you tap here and say, even though I have this headache, or even though I have this backache, or even though whatever, I accept myself, I'm doing the best I can. You can say that once or twice. And then you start tapping and talking about the problem. So you start with the eyebrow, right where the hair starts. This headache, and then outside the eye. Follow these points with me so you can find them. Most people start up here on the forehead, but it's not. It's right on the eyebrow, right where the hair starts. You take 2 fingers and tap moderately high. And then outside the eye here, this remaining headache, this headache. And then if the headache is attached to something that happened, you can say, this guy that cut me off headache in traffic, or whatever it is. And then under the eye is right here, under the pupil, high up on the bone. That's a stomach point. A lot of times people will feel anxiety in their stomach will go away as they stay on this point. If a point is sore, you stay on it a little more. Then under the nose, and under the lip, and the collarbone, somewhere along the collarbone, where the sternum and the collarbone come together. That's a kidney point. That's about fear in the Chinese system. Then under the arm, about 4 inches down on the side seam. And you can also do the fingers. That's the long version, where you just tap on the outside of the nail bed of the fingers. You don't do this ring finger because you see this X. You're going to do that at the end. That's a balancing with eye movement and humming and counting. So what you're doing here is you're releasing the charge, the blocked energy that you asked them to 0 to 10. And ask them, where do you feel that in the body? They'll tell you. I have never had anybody that couldn't tell me, including Marine officers, where do you feel that in anxiety or energy in your body. And so the reason that you do that is you both want to know 0 to 10 how intense it is when you start. How is it going with each round? How is it releasing, or it might be changing aspects and you're going somewhere else with it, which you just follow if that happens. And then by the end, well, is it a 0? How does your stomach feel? What are you thinking? And they'll go, I don't know, it's just over. There is a transcript. I have a sign-up sheet here for to be invited to my next workshop, and also to receive a transcript of a RAP veteran that I treated from Fort Bragg. He was about to be med-boarded out for untreatable PTSD, and he wasn't sleeping. And so this physician's assistant sent him to me, I think, to test me because I was bragging about PFT at a party. She said, well, I have something I'm going to send you. And I'm like, okay, I just dug myself in the hole. But anyway, he showed up, and he had a stable childhood. I didn't do a reading on him because I don't usually do it on military guys. They feel intimidated or something. But I took a little history. He had a stable childhood. So I said, what's the worst thing that ever happened in a combat? And he had been in 3 tours and 39 months of combat. And he told me about an ambush in the first tour, and that's what we did. At the end of that session, which was 90 minutes of tapping, he slept for 12 hours that night. And he came back 2 or 3 days later, and I thought we were going to go over the whole thing again because it was ugly and huge, and 3 people were killed, and it was just horrible. And as I was asking him, well, what about this and what about that, very specifically, what about when you went to put pressure on the guy's wound with your hand and your hand went inside him? He's going, I don't know. There was nothing. I was invoking and trying to get something out of him, and he was like, no, I don't care. And after another little cleanup session, which included automatically wiping away 4 specific nightmare flashbacks. I said, well, you have 4 nightmares and flashbacks, and the clinician told me, what are they? He's like, I don't know, I can't remember them. I said, well, these have been tormenting you for months. Yeah, bring up one. So he says, well, okay, well, there's this one where I drove an unarmored Humvee over some artillery shells, and I looked out the window, and they were right there on the ground. And well, how do you feel about that now? 0 to 10. And so it's a 0. It's kind of funny. So we didn't even treat those. Those just went away with treating this one incident that had to do with this ambush. So anyway, I'm going to send that if you want it. So one thing that you can remember about how to do the tapping points is once you start here with your setup, it looks like a question mark. Here, 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 and under the arm. So these points represent the 14 meridians in the Chinese system. So you're basically sweeping the system. You don't have to figure out where the charge is. You're just sweeping the system, and their body is getting calmer, and their affect is coming down as we go. So let's take a look at what this looks like in real time. This is a 12-minute. This is on my website as well. I have some cards here. It's guidedhealing.com. But if you are thinking about introducing this technique to a client and you don't think that this will re-traumatize them, you can let them look at it. Or there's other ones that are on YouTube that are less intense than this one. Is this going? Do I have to press something? Oh, there it is. Okay. Yeah, so again, this was recorded in 2004, and he has been symptom-free ever since. His nickname is Ducky. Toward the end, I'm gonna call your attention to watch his face, and you can see the relief on his face. It's pretty dramatic. Do we need to shut the lights off? Let me see. Okay. Is that better? Yeah. What you can all do to get a little mileage out of this is bookmark in your mind something that bothers you right now. Not the worst thing that ever happened in your life, but just something that you can get a number on of intensity and tap along with us. And you'll get relief on your issue by tapping along with us, even though you've turned your attention to this. That's just how it works. Okay. Yeah, you're good friends. Okay, this is what, December 18th, 17th? Okay, December 17th, 2004.
with Becky and Sue. I'm going to ask you to tell me, I've got a form here, but I'm not going to bother having you fill it out. It's an assessment. I'm going to have you tell me in your own words, what are some of your symptoms and what's been happening to you and how long you've been home and what are the problems that you want to work on today, what's going on? Without getting into a lot of detail, so I don't want you to get upset. Just kind of tell me in a matter-of-fact way what's happening to you and what you're feeling.
It's pretty much like isolation from a lot of my friends.
Okay.
Not so much isolation from family. I'm pretty tight knit with my family, so I don't really have a problem with that. But just going out, really don't want to go out. Just want to pretty much say to myself for the past couple of weeks now. Actually, I won't say when I got back. When I first got back.
When did you get back?
Got back here around October, the 1st of October.
Okay.
When I first got back and went, I had my time with my family. Went back home for about a month. Everything was great. Didn't really start feeling anything until I actually got back to work, got back into the swing of things, and actually realized, hey, something's just not right. For a while, actually, it just felt like it was overcast every day. It's pretty much how I explained it to my daughter. It felt like a black cloud over my head every day, and I just noticed how everything I was saying, sort of just like, okay, yeah, this is what it is. I'll leave you alone.
Short, irritable.
Yeah, real irritable.
Short.
Really short answers. Really started getting mood swings. Really easily started getting angry really easily. Just the smallest little things. If somebody would have left the refrigerator cracked halfway, or somebody would have drank something of mine, or took something of mine, somebody would have played a joke and get really angry or whatever. Didn't start noticing actually until a couple weeks ago. Started getting anxiety attacks.
What number is that?
Say about 8.
Okay. All right. Okay. Is it a little bit less now that you can remember it without too much trouble?
Yeah.
Okay. Peter? Any thoughts come up all over you? Okay.
Just kept going back there. The kids yelling. The shots.
Okay. Let's just do some more tapping. I want you to talk about it as you tap, okay? We're just going to tap and talk, okay? What happened? Tell me the story while we tap.
Me, my brother, and 2 other kids get off the bus. We walk. She gets us off of the bus. We walk into the house. And say probably 2 hours into the day, I'm helping my brother with his homework. Helping my brother with his homework. Doing my homework. Playing around with the kids. Her husband comes into the house, and they've been going through a divorce, and currently they're in a separation. So both of them go into the bedroom, and they close the door to where me and the kids were. They start arguing. They start doing stuff. I thought I heard him laugh. Thought I heard him laugh. Heard some other things fall, glass break, and they were fighting. They were loud yelling.
This is making anybody anxious to tap along with it.
And so the 2 of the youngest kids, my brother and one of the little girls, they started to cry, and I tried calming them down. And finally started to get them calm down and situated, tell them everything's going to be okay. And I hear a shot, and then the second shot, the first shot, all the kids started to yell. I sort of calmed down, kept my mask on for the sake of the kids, just to be the oldest, myself the oldest. I just calmed down. And then one of the other shots went through the wall to where me and the kids were at. Went through the window. I started to cry, and all the other kids just started to cry. And so I heard another shot. That's when I left out of the room. I left the kids in the room, and I went into the room. I went over to the other room where they were at, and I opened the door slightly, and I see her husband laying on the ground with a shot in his chest. And he was still alive, he was gasping for air. And she shot him in the face. And he just didn't move after that. And I fell through the door. And I saw her, and she took the pistol, and she saw me. She was saying, "Oh my God," and she put it in her mouth. Pulled the trigger. And after that, I didn't remember anything.
So you saw her shoot herself then?
And after that, I passed out.
Where was it at? It's still hard? Okay. Put your head up a little bit. And open your eyes. Look all the way down to the floor. Keep thinking about it. Down with your finger. So we're going to take this on in layers. Okay. But at least you can talk about it. If you feel it in your body. When you think about it. Is it stuck in your body?
It's like, just feel it.
Just right there.
Chest.
Okay.
Just on my arms.
Okay. All right. We're going to talk about it again from your standpoint. I didn't know what to do. I tried to protect the kids. I didn't know what was happening. I was really scared. I didn't know, I knew that something bad was happening, and I didn't know what. And I heard the things crashing, and kind of like more from what you're going through. Okay.
That's called aspects. It's like the scenes in the movie. Where are we at?
So you probably like 4 and 3.
What's coming up for you?
I don't know. Right now, I forgive her. It's like at first I always hated her for it. But it's like I don't hate her.
Did you hate her for a long time?
I hated her. I don't hold grudges on anybody. I get over things really quickly. But I hated her.
You don't hate her now?
I don't know.
How does your body feel?
I feel more relaxed about it now.
Okay, we want to take it down to a complete 0. Even though the kids were crying, and we were all scared, and I was the oldest, and I was supposed to know what to do.
I was the oldest, and I was supposed to know what to do.
That was then, and this is now.
That was then, and this is now.
I did the best I could at the time.
I did the best I could at the time.
I tried to protect the kids.
Tried to protect the kids.
But I didn't know what was happening either.
But I didn't know what was happening either.
We were all scared.
We were all scared.
Okay, here. The kids were crying.
The kids were crying.
They were scared.
They were scared.
Nobody knew what was going on.
Nobody knew what was going on.
All of a sudden, we didn't know what would happen next.
Didn't know what was going to happen next.
Did you feel responsible for the kids?
I felt responsible for the kids.
Honest. I was supposed to protect the kids.
I was supposed to protect the kids.
I was the oldest.
I was the oldest.
Here. The kids were crying.
The The kids were crying.
I didn't know what to do.
And I didn't know what to do.
The kids were crying.
The kids were crying.
We were all scared.
We were all scared.
They were depending on me to do something.
They were depending on me to do
I
something.
didn't know what to do.
I didn't know what to do.
A bullet came through the wall.
Bullet came through the wall.
Things were crashing and banging in the bedroom.
Things were crashing and banging in the bedroom.
I knew something bad was happening.
I knew something bad was
But I
happening.
was really scared. I didn't know what to do.
I was really scared and I didn't know what to do.
I can relax now, though. It's over.
I feel relaxed now. It's over.
I'm safe and the kids are safe.
I'm safe and the kids are safe.
The kids were crying. We didn't know what to do.
The kids are crying and we didn't know what to do.
The kids were crying.
The kids were crying.
I didn't know what to do.
I didn't know what to do.
I didn't know what would happen next.
I didn't know what to happen next.
And next minute, I didn't know if she was going to kill me.
I didn't know she was going to
I
kill
didn't know
me.
she was going to kill all of us.
I didn't know she was going to kill all of us.
Everything else.
Look at his face.
I'm just glad they're all safe.
They're all safe now. Good baby family. I choose to release any bitterness in my heart over this memory.
I choose to release any bitterness in my heart over this memory.
She has to be accountable to God for what she did.
She has to be accountable to God for what she did.
Me and the kids made it out okay.
Me and the kids made it out okay.
Just tap continue the scene. Just run the scene through your mind when you tap.
This is fight or flight, anxiety. Damn it, point right here on your chart.
Look in your eyes, look down to your right. Like that. She killed me and then she killed herself.
She killed me, she killed herself.
Look down your left. Focus on that picture. She killed him and then she killed herself.
She killed him and she killed herself.
I know she was going to kill me.
I didn't know she was going to kill me.
This is balancing different parts of the brain.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
They tap on the top of your head, just kind of make a circle. The time the babysitter killed her husband,
But all that out.
The time the babysitter killed her husband and killed herself.
so we're not going to say.
Sober now and I'm safe.
You can relax and let go now.
I can relax and let go now.
Okay.
Now watch.
Wow.
Is it a 0?
Yeah, we're good.
My cat chimed in.
Oh, Sadie. It's gone. Yeah, all that bad stuff in his head is gone.
Oh my God.
And here's the core issue. He's going to say it in a minute.
It was like I never had to be. It's like I never had to be accountable or anything.
Remember he said, I'm the oldest, I have to protect the kids? That was the core for him, besides the survival.
But it was incredibly selfish for her to do that in front of a bunch of kids. That was just, I mean, she was out of control.
It was like that saying, good things always happen to bad things always happen to good people, God only saves children and fools.
See where he's rubbing his body where it's released?
Literally, it's like the world is set on my shoulders. Oh my God.
We're going to take down the rest of
That's relief. He's so relieved. 10 years he's been hearing this. He's 20.
Thank you.
How often did you go through the whole?
We did about 10 or 12 rounds. And the way, how do we shut this off? We did, we did the onion technique. So the reason that this is so cool is that you don't need to go for the eye of the needle and drag them through like the VA does exposure. I hate that. The whole point of healing is not re-traumatizing somebody. And they're just burning the circuit out over and over and over until they are so numb they can't feel anything and they call that healing. It's not, because it drives the trauma into the body and they'll come up with an addiction or they'll do something else. It does not heal in the long term, in my experience. And I treated about 50 veterans and I've heard from a lot more. So you want to take it from the outside in. So what we did here is called the movie technique. And I think that's on your handout. Tutorial number 3, the movie technique, a tool for being specific. So when you ask them, what's the name of this movie? If that was a movie, what would be the title? And whatever they say is what you say. You don't reframe that. This guy called it the wrong. So we started out, even though I went through the wrong, and even though that happened to me, I survived it, the wrong. And we started to have the wrong. And then you try to get them to speak, but if they're too traumatized, you sometimes have to feed it for them, and then eventually they'll chime back in. I would say to him, the wrong, I wish I never saw that, but I did see it. The wrong, I never saw it coming. Just a few general things like an ambush, in a military situation. It's the same thing. I never saw that happening. Or domestic violence. I thought he was going to kill me. I never saw it coming. Something like that. Because you're addressing the shock, which is a separate imprint from the trauma. Shock and trauma goes right to the HPA axis. And so it's a much harder, more powerful trauma and more powerful charge that you're releasing. So what was the name of that movie? Whatever they say is what it was, and you can start doing that and then work your way in. So as you're working your way in, every round or two you're asking them on a scale of 0 to 10, where are we? So if they start out with a 10, or they might say a 20, whatever they say, you don't want to get real specific into the eye of the needle until it's like a 5 or 6. Now with him, I had to do it because we were stuck at an 8. So we did they call it the tell the story. I said tap and talk, they call it the tell the story technique. So they're actually working their way through the frames of that movie while they're tapping. And while they're tapping, the affect is coming down. And they're supposedly feeling better in their stomach, and you check in with them, you stop, do a little assessment, how are you doing, what else is coming up. Because a lot of times when you start taking this energy off, people will say, I'm thinking about something else now, and I haven't thought about this in 20 years. Well, we've just moved over here. So we started here, and we came down, and then we went this way, kind of like a link chart. So you don't drag them back to where you were doing. You just follow where the energy goes, and you follow what's up for them. What's up for them is what's on the table, and then you just follow it. So does everybody understand the basic tapping points? Now, we saw a little bit more of that, the humming and counting and the eye movement thing, and I was doing the eye roll, which is when you continually tap on the gamut point, which is this is fight or flight anxiety, and you've got always keep your mind on the problem, and then you have them look down and then look up to the horizon and then roll their eyes up. That's balancing the brain through the corpus callosum. So that's going to balance the energy of the brain. The other way to do it is follow my finger. Now, if their eyes skip around like that, that means that there's trauma stuck in the part of the brain where they were looking at the time the incident happened. And there's another technique to undo that through the optic nerve. So you want to roll their eyes at least once, and then the other way. So I tell them if I'm with them, I can say follow my finger, and I'm going to watch their eyes and see if they jerk around like that, and then I know I got to do something else. Or I just have them look down at the floor and look up to the horizon and look up here and do it like 3 times. Because that's balancing the energy of the brain through the optic nerve. Because it's going through the limbic brain, it's going everywhere, in their brain where these imprints are stuck. So you just keep working on it until you get down to a 0. If you can't get to a 0, there's something called psychological reversal, which is blocks to healing or changing. we're coming up on the high holy days of New Year's resolutions here. Can they last more than like 10 minutes? For some people, no. Because your body mind says, I want to lose weight, I want to stop smoking or whatever, and their anxiety is too high and they can't do it. Or there's some other reason on their hard drive behind here that says, well, the last time I was thin, or when I started to gain this weight when I was 13, well, I got sexually abused or something. And the body is going to hold in place anything to guarantee your survival or your safety. So you can put any person on any diet in the world or any addictions program in the world, it will not hold if there is issues of survival and safety that are connected to keeping that in place. And I use the example of Oprah. She's been very clear and open about her sexual abuse and incest history. And she has every resource in the planet, and she can't lose her weight. She loses it, gains it back, because it's not safe to be small, for example. Now, who would think that? If you just put down the fork and do more sit-ups, you'll be fine. No, you won't, because your hard drive controls everything. So you've got to diagnose metaphorically and through their history what's really going on and clear those reversals or those stoppers. That's like in a level 2 class of how to do that. But if people don't get results, it's not because this doesn't work. It'll take it down to a certain point, and then there's something that's blocking that needs to be cleared, another trauma or another core belief that will stop it. So, is anyone brave enough to come up here for a quick demo? It doesn't have to be, I don't want it to be the worst thing that ever happened in your life. I've dug myself in that hole a couple of times in workshops. You want to? You have, what do you have, first of all? Tell us briefly what it is so we can see if it's quick.
I yelled at her already.
I don't believe it.
When I didn't finish my dissertation, I had somebody do this with me when I didn't finish my dissertation. I'd like you to do it with me.
Okay, well, what's the problem?
Oh, because I didn't finish my dissertation on time. And one of my friends I was working with, a family therapist, he did the tapping with me. So I'd like to do it again.
Well, I know, but what is the problem that you want to get over? You didn't finish it?
I didn't finish it, yeah.
Okay, so what's upsetting about that?
Oh, because there's a deadline.
Okay, so did you blow the whole course then, or you still have to take it again, or what?
Yeah, I'd have to start all over for the very beginning again.
Okay, so, see, now this is already getting a little global, but I'm trying to bring her into more core of what it is. Are you angry at yourself for doing that?
Yes.
Are you also like embarrassed or ashamed or feel guilty or something else about it?
Yes.
Okay, so what's the strongest of your, it was 0 to 10, how intense is that, and what are we working on?
Kind of regret, loss.
You mad at yourself or more
Yeah.
sad about it?
Both.
Okay. Did you decide that you're a failure because of it?
Yes.
Is that like the core of it?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Does it resonate with something else in the past? The EFT question is, what
yes.
or who does this remind you of?
Yeah.
And then you know you've got the backstory.
Yes.
Does it remind you of a more intense issue?
Yes. Because my dad would always say, if you got a B, it should have been an A. If you got an A, it should have been an A+, and nothing was ever good enough.
Right. Okay. So I'm not going to treat this because it's too intense and has too many scenes and too many links in the chain for this. But I'm glad that you came up because you see where we went. We went right back to childhood. So the what or who does this remind you of? If the person has a pattern of things, are there other things that you feel like you fail at or that you can't finish? Because what's the use? Because he'll just say you're not good enough. And then there's perfectionism probably under there, which is an unreachable goal.
Or the kind of work I like, my dad say, oh, that's good for humanitarian reasons, but
Yeah, but you can't make any money
or
on
can
it.
you, does it really help somebody like limping along, physically, or, my jobs are just for humanitarian.
Right.
Not a real
So
thing.
your
Not a real
dad-
money maker jobs.
So your dad devalued
Yeah.
you.
Oh, and the value, like he's a physics professor, so women couldn't be in his physics class.
You
He
see,
didn't think they could do well, so.
you see the iceberg that's sitting here with this? This is an iceberg situation, and it's good that you can talk about this, because if you have a client that comes to you with this thing, and you start asking them, I mean, I turned into her heart, and I can see there's heartbreak about this, and that's why I asked you, what does this remind you of? Is it sadness? So it's rejection and probably betrayal from dad or whatever, but there's a whole backstory behind this. And if you're gonna do tapping on, I didn't finish my dissertation, you're not gonna get anywhere, because that's not the core issue. That's one of these aspects. And this is a good thing to do when you're trying to figure something out, either for yourself or a client. Draw the circle with what they're presenting with or what they think is the issue, and then when you start talking, it's like this bicycle wheel. You're gonna find it taking you into that iceberg and what's going on under the radar. And you're gonna be bringing it conscious, not only for you so you know where you're going, but for them. Because frequently they don't know either. Did you realize all the dots we just connected?
Mhm.
But you knew they were there.
Yes,
Okay, but I just invoked that from her.
but you just connected them.
Yeah, yeah. So there's 5 main wounds. Write this down if you can. There's 5 main wounds that all emotional patterns are rooted in, which is usually childhood. Abandonment, betrayal, humiliation, injustice, and rejection. So if your client has several of those, or all of them, you're talking about a very strong trauma imprint in childhood.
What's the last one?
Repeat that again.
Yeah, abandonment, betrayal, humiliation, injustice, and rejection. So a lot of what this incident is about, really, is dad not supporting you, rejecting you as being a woman, and you're not worth as much, or your choices aren't any good because you should be doing what I want you to, and the devaluing and stuff. And that's what is that gonna do to a person? It's gonna harm their identity, right, as a female. It's disempowering and disrespectful and not fair, which is the injustice. If a client says to you, well, it wasn't fair, you're talking to a child right at that moment, because that's what kids say. It wasn't fair. And that's all they know, and they won't let you rest until something's fair. Any parents in here? So you've got several aspects of relationship with dad. You might even start with, on the outside circle, my relationship with dad, my conflict with dad. He couldn't see me, he couldn't hear me, no matter what I did, it wasn't good enough, and then bring it to the core. But that's not something we can do right here.
Right.
As you understand why?
Yeah, it's too much.
Yeah. But I'm glad that you came up, because that's a perfect example of how things can be so difficult to unwind.
Okay, thank you.
Does anybody have like a headache or a physical pain somewhere? You?
Right
What is
now?
it?
Upper back.
Upper back. Headache. Okay, remember the back thing I just said? Is that anybody betraying you? Let me just who's betrayed you? Who do you want to get off your back? You don't have to say.
It's me.
This is my body medicine. Does any of that resonate? You don't have to
Yes.
say. Okay. So, I think your coworkers know what we're talking about. Okay, so let's just work with this. What number is the pain? 0 to 10. With 10 being agonizing and 0 is no pain.
6 or 7.
About a 6 or 7. Okay. If there was an emotion attached to that pain, what would it be?
Frustration.
Okay. So we're going to say this frustration stuck in my upper back, right? Okay. Let's just rock and roll with that. I'll try not to read your energy, but I can't help it. It just hits me. Okay, turn. Even though I have this frustration stuck in my upper back, everybody tap.
Even though I have this frustration stuck in my upper back,
And I can't get rid of it no matter what I do.
and
Is
I
that
can't
true?
get rid of it no matter what I do.
I'm doing the best I can.
I'm doing the best I can.
even though I really want to get this, it's like off my chest as well as off my back, right? Even though I really want to get this off my chest and off my back,
Even though I really want to get this off my chest and off my back,
I'm just kind of stuck in it right now.
I'm just kind of stuck in it.
I'm doing the best I can.
I'm doing the best I can.
Okay, tap here. This frustration's stuck in my back.
This frustration is stuck in my back.
Outside the eye, talk to me about it. What comes up to you?
Just feeling powerless.
Yeah. Is there some things you wish you could say that you can't say?
Absolutely.
Uh-huh. I wish I could, I wish I could tell this person off, but I can't.
I wish I could tell this person.
Yeah. I'm stuck.
I'm stuck.
It's stuck in my back.
It's stuck in my back.
And they're stuck on my back.
They're stuck on my
And I want them off my back.
and I want them off my back.
Okay, now let's take another deeper level. This feeling of helplessness and powerlessness, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, they're bigger than me, or they're signing my check, or they pay my rent or something, right? Okay. All the above. I'm sorry, maybe I'll just turn my back to you. I'm stuck.
I'm stuck.
I'm stuck right now.
I'm stuck.
My back is up against the wall,
My back is up against the wall.
and I'm tired of this pain.
I'm tired of this.
I'm tired of carrying this situation on my back.
I'm tired of carrying this situation on my back.
I'd rather be peaceful.
I'd rather be peaceful.
I'm tired of this tug of war.
I'm tired of this.
Is that true? Yeah. Okay, tap on your phone. We're going to do the whole long thing here. It makes me feel how?
It makes me feel powerless.
Powerless, angry,
Frustrated.
frustrated. Focus your attention on the pain in your back. Just go to the index finger. This frustration pain in my back. Say that.
This frustration, pain in my back.
And this and this person is the pain in my neck, right?
And this person is the pain in my neck.
Yeah. Middle finger. I really want this. Is it a guy? I really want this guy off my back.
I really want this guy off my back.
Yeah. Baby finger. I can't win this fight.
I can't win this fight.
I'm just stuck.
I'm just stuck.
But I choose to be happy anyway.
But I choose to be happy.
I'm doing the best I can.
I'm doing the best I can.
Okay, tap on the back of your hand on that X point. Okay, shut your eyes and think about the frustration. Take some breaths. Let your shoulders kind of come down here a little bit. Focus on the pain in your back. Tell me on 0 to 10 how intense is it?
4.
About a 4, it's coming down. Okay. Open your eyes. Look down to the floor. Keep tapping. Follow my finger here. This frustrating guy that's on my back.
This frustrating guy is on my back.
I can't get rid of him,
I can't get rid of him.
but I can undo him.
But I can undo him.
I'm undoing him right now.
I'm undoing him right now.
Okay, big circle. Follow my eyes. Or follow your eyes. Okay, very good. Hum a few notes. Count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay, let's go back. This is called the remainder. Tap here. This remaining pain in my back.
This remaining pain in my back.
Outside the eye. This remaining guy who's got his claws in my back.
This remaining guy who's got
Is
his
that,
claws in
is
my
that right?
back.
Yeah. This remaining frustration.
This remaining frustration.
I'm stuck.
I'm stuck.
I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place.
I'm stuck between a rock and a hard
And I
place.
got my back against the wall.
And I got my back against the wall.
Look here. But I just have to deal with it right now.
I just have to deal with it right now.
Look here. I'm doing the best I can.
I'm doing the best I can.
What else do you want to say?
I need to practice radical acceptance.
Even though I need to practice radical acceptance,
Even though I need to practice radical acceptance.
it's not a good idea to think about that while I want to choke this guy.
It's not a good idea.
I can see an image of his own. Oh, if I could just, yeah. This remaining anger and frustration.
This remaining anger and frustration.
I can't say what I really want to say.
I can't say what I really want to say.
Under here. Sometimes you just have to let it go. Sometimes you just have to eat it, let it go, whatever. You tap on top of your head. People all over America share my problem.
For America, share my problem.
And I'm doing the best I can.
I'm doing it.
Okay. You can throw in a little humor, you know. Okay, so think about it again and just see what the number is, where you feel it in the body. Sometimes energy moves, you know, they say, well, it was in my shoulders, now it's in my left hip. Just go there. Energy can move around. And how's the cognition? Are you still, what do you want to say? You think you're at a 2? How do you know?
Well, I felt some of the tension come out of my shoulders.
Mm-hmm. So you can feel physically it's like not as heavy or not as pressure or something?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, now if you wanted to, you could take it down completely to a 0 and do a little bit more. This remaining feeling that he's still on my back, or this remaining resentment, or this remaining helplessness, and just do a little bit more on what you've just heard, like I did with Ducky in the final round. Now, I did a little more talking with you than I normally would do with a client, just because I'm trying to move things along, but you should try to let them, it should be their own words, try to let them talk. And if they get stuck and they can't talk, you know, you've heard probably the story, or you know the history, then you can jump in and help them. If people are crying, I just start talking and I lead them through that. There's one more technique I want to show you. I think there's a thing in your handout, the trauma hold. That's for flooding. It brings the blood back to the forebrain. Can I do this on you? Okay. So if your license is that you can't touch someone, you just do it to yourself and you show them to do it. But I can touch people, so you just cradle their occiput and the front of their forehead. And this is going to bring the blood back to the forebrain, which is where you think. And it can bring someone out of flooding or a panic attack. How does it feel? Does it feel comforting or centering at all? And you just have them breathe, and if they're prone to dissociation, you want them to keep their eyes open. It's grounding. Okay, and he wasn't particularly upset, but that's another way to, bring people down. I noticed you were tapping quite vigorously along with Ducky. Did that remind you of something in your background or something that you had heard and you were just practicing? Okay. All right. I want to go over the questions that you're supposed to get for your CE here. Your course objectives are learn the EFT basic recipe and tapping points. We did that. Focus on the aspects of the problem while tapping, which is the tap and talk, which is this. And then the introduction to psychological reversals, which is the stoppers. Those are they could be conscious or they could be unconscious aspects of something that is going to keep someone from healing. They're blocks to healing or changing. So anybody in here familiar with applied kinesiology, also known as muscle testing? Can I use you for a demo? Let me stand up here. This is another way to deal with that, but you probably wouldn't stick your arm straight out. Put your hand on top of your head like this. Okay, and be strong. I'm going to press on your arm. Okay, now flip your hand over like that. And be strong. See that? I can push his arm down with one finger because his polarity, go ahead, sit down. Polarity is reversed when you do that. There's a negative pole, which is north and south in the body, like magnets. And when you put the opposite poles of the magnet together, you're going to be strong. Or in testing, it's true or yes. So you have somebody say yes, and they'll weaken on no, or yes on their own name and weaken on somebody else's name. I tell police officers when I train them, don't use this in the street because it'll never hold up in court. But it's good to know if their energy is reversing around what you're working on. Because then you know you're in a reversal or you've got some affect that came up. So if you talk about something or they see something and they weaken, or they're at even a food sensitivity will weaken the body, you want to address that, and there's ways to correct it. So, are there any specific questions, or I can stay afterwards? Yes.
Is this do you see any overlap between this technique and what they do in EMDR to relieve trauma?
Other than the eye movement with the circling, I really don't, because the EMDR is specifically an eye movement through the optic nerve, and there's a piece of that that's very that's very accurate in releasing trauma from the limbic brain. But it also is a rough ride for a client because it takes you right into the core of the eye of the needle. And I don't believe in re-traumatizing people that don't need to be re-traumatized. So this way, to take it down slowly and let their affect change and their body release the pain as you're going toward the center is better. So it's a very effective treatment, but I think this is better, faster, and easier on the client. Anyone else have a question? Yes?
I have two questions,
Uh-huh.
Susan, real quick. The first one is, I noticed on your video that when you're going through all the tapping,
Mm-hmm.
you spent a little more time on certain parts of the body versus
Mhm.
others. How, do you just do that intuitively, or
Well,
just as they're talking? Or
I was doing it purposely because you can learn this on the internet. You can look up acupoints or acupressure points and see what meridian is correlated to what emotion. This is the stomach, which is anxiety and fear. And this is anger. And this is kidney, which is also fear. So when he was talking about all this anxiety about the bullets going through the wall and the kids were crying, and that's why I was doing it. Normally, when you're just doing a round, you do 5 or 6 taps on each point, and just kind of keep doing it. But yeah, that's why I did that. What was your other question?
my other question is, do you normally work together with traditional therapists that do long-term counseling, or is that kind of re-traumatizing them to do this and then do the traditional talk therapy?
No, I think it's a good match because there's an element of therapy and coaching and support and long-term life skills that they need. People that have been really traumatized, like people that have been traumatized in childhood, they don't know anything about boundaries, And I bring that up as informing them that the reason this keeps happening in a pattern is because you don't know what's a boundary. I don't know, and I tell them. But I'm not the coach, so sometimes I will refer them to one of my students for that type of work, for example, or how to have a normal relationship. I mean, if you grew up in chaos or with an alcoholic parent, I didn't have a chance to bring this up real quick, but I'm glad you brought that up. cdc.gov/ACE, the Adverse Childhood Experiences Study. There's 10 adverse childhood experiences that if your client has a high score, according to this study, they have a very good chance of getting a life-threatening illness in adulthood. I think this study basically proves the mind-body connection because it talks about the different aspects of a traumatic childhood, but if you have a lot of them, it's going to affect your physiology in the long term, 20, 30, 40 years later. So a lot of clients that come to me in middle age that have illnesses, I take a physical history from them as well as the emotional. It's like, well, no wonder you have heart disease. Your heart is broken, or you have, breast cancer, lung, or something. And it kind of correlates to the body and the emotions that are associated with the body. So that's a real important study. You should have your trauma clients take this quiz. You're halfway to an intuitive reading when you get the answers. Yes?
What's the website again? I can't.
It's cdc.gov/ACE. The Centers for Disease Control and Kaiser Hospital did this study right here in San Diego. Yes?
I wanted to ask you if the technique can be done by the patient themselves at home.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
reading a script to themselves or something
Yep.
where they repeat.
Yeah. Give them homework.
But
Tell
to
them.
do the same thing that you're doing without somebody guiding them.
Yeah.
That's therapeutic.
Yeah, because you teach them the technique as well as when you're treating. And so after they've been with a session or two, and you give them, you can copy this handout and give it to them, or they can look up a YouTube video, do it as that thing we call borrowing benefits, which is you tap along with something else and you get relief on your own. Yeah, I just tell people, don't do the worst thing that ever happened in your life by yourself. Do the bad stuff here, the 8, 9, 10 stuff on your timeline, but do the little stuff on your own, and it makes them feel empowered. They can do it before they go to sleep if they can't sleep. Even though I can't sleep because of whatever happened today, I accept myself, I'm doing the best I can. It balances your field and you just get calmer.
And can I ask you one other thing?
Sure.
How do you know how long to tap in a specific area, or
You
in
just,
general?
it's so forgiving. 5 or 6 taps and moving around will get you there. What you're looking for is the gradual resolution and affect drop with each round. So every round or two.
So there's no.
No, there's no.
number.
No, it's not written in stone. Every round or two, you tune them in again. Think about it now. What are you thinking about? Make sure they're thinking about the same thing that they gave you the 0 to 10 to begin with. Because if they switched aspects under the radar, then you're going to say, well, how come you're still at a 10? We've just happened for 30 minutes. And they will switch aspects behind the scenes, and you don't know they're over there. So you tune them into the same thing. What's the number, and how are you feeling about it? Yeah, and they'll tell you, just like the ducky did, it's coming down. Yes, sir?
What's the derivation of the origination of the meridian?
Chinese medicine, acupuncture.
Acupuncture.
Yeah. So what we're doing when we're tapping is we're adding electrical energy to those points instead of using a needle. And it must be that they run through the entire body and then the brain, because otherwise we wouldn't get the results on all these levels that we get. You can't see a meridian on an autopsy. And I don't know if we've got the technology right now to be able to say that this is a test that proves the energy is moving through this pathway or something, but I'm not going to argue with 5,000 years of Chinese medicine. I just know that this works, and you see miracles like this guy, and then when he came back 2 other times, and we did 2 other sessions on Iraq, which I have on the video. I have a 2 DVD of that. And then he went back to the division shrink at Pendleton and said, I'm done, take me off my meds. And the guy said, what are you talking about? And wouldn't take my calls or didn't want to hear it, unfortunately. So, do we have to close now? We were just getting started. Anyway, here's the sign-up sheet. I have some stuff that I brought. I've got a CD here from 6 CDs about intuition development, and this is a CD that has about 20 different articles and some studies and case histories on it. That I taught a workshop down at Aurora Mental Hospital in San Diego in February, and we have this. So each one of these is $15, which is 50% off of what it usually costs. And if you want to sign up for training, here's my cards. You can sign up. Thank you very much for your attention.